Assalamu alaikum ji. Welcome back to another episode of Kazi. My guest today was Nida S. Fahad. Nida is a community leader, blogger, businesswoman, someone employed in the corporate world. She's also someone who has recently gone through a miscarriage. And that's what we spoke about predominantly. The lack of resources, compassion, empathy that is given to women who go through what is arguably one of the most traumatic things that anyone could ever go through. We also speak about her journey as a content creator, about her views on empowerment, on her views about the Earth March, and about what she hopes to enamor her followers with. Enjoy. 3, 2, 1. Nida as Fahad. How are you doing, Nida?
I'm doing good. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. Kaise ho?
I'm good. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. You did not bring the kids.
I did not. No, I'm so sorry that I did not bring the kids. I had a follow-up shoot iske baad, and then I decided ke bacche jo hain, I mean, they're also having fun, so I did not want to ruin that for them.
Yeah. So we spoke on my Instagram live.
That's right.
And it was a very interesting live. क्योंकि आपसे पहले जो खातून आई थी, I feel like you were prompted to speak because उन्होंने जो है काफी
it triggered. It was like this should not be a representative of how this should not be a representation of how women should be. No. Or it kind of made you awkward. I think it made everybody awkward.
It was a little strange.
Yeah, it was very
ऐसे
strange.
मतलब होता रहता है. But I think what was refreshing, internet पे ऐसा होता रहता है. I think what was refreshing though was you felt, not only did you feel, a lot of us feel the need to, but you felt the need to step up and then you acted on it.
Yeah.
I think that's nice.
Yeah, it was very spontaneous of me because I follow your lives all the time. Like you're usually live every other night, right? So मैं देख रही होती हूँ, but then again, I don't always like send requests like that. So I'm not
at all.
I'm not also doing lots of live on Instagram, so that's like not something that I do very frequently. But at that point, I was like, what is this?
ये गैर मुनासिब
ये गैर मुनासिब चीज हो रही है. Someone should do something about that.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And that's good. The thing is, वही वाली बात है ना कि someone should do something about it is a thought that all of us readily have. Someone,
right.
But then when from that someone, the journey to me, I think बहुत मुश्किल हो जाती है लोगों के लिए. But anyways, let's have you tell me a little bit about what you do so everyone knows.
Right. So I'm a mom first off. I have 2 little children, 2 साल की and 4 साल की, Manha and Minhal, जिनको सबने live पे देखा था that day. And I'm a wife, I'm a homemaker first off. And then my journey started off by, I think it was 2018, I believe. I started this community called Superwomen of Pakistan. And उसके पीछे भी एक कहानी है कि मैं ऐसी, I was doing this corporate job. My daughter was 3 months old during the time. And I was obviously going through a very rough patch after delivery. You just have that pregnancy blues all the time. And I had lost my mother as well. I just got pregnant, and then right after, I think, मुझे पता चला कि I'm pregnant. And then just 4 to 5 hours later to that, my mother went on ventilator, basically never woke up. So the entire pregnancy was like really difficult for me emotionally, as well as, just was really difficult, grieving the entire time. Anyway, so I gave birth to my first kid, and then I just wanted to see, क्या मतलब, is this it? Is this life? इसके बाद क्या है? And I'm a pharmacist as well, by the way. So I was still studying that time, but I still just did not feel productive enough. मैंने एक year का gap दे दिया था because of the birth and everything. I was just trying to recover, quickly heal. So my husband and my mother-in-law suggested कि अगर कोई job मिल जाती है ऐसी जहाँ पे you can bring your child, you can take her along with you, then go ahead. And my mother-in-law was always big on that idea कि just don't put a full stop to your growth, keep learning, keep growing forward in life. So luckily I was able to find this job at a startup. It was I used to live in Federal Bay Area, and I used to commute from Federal Bay Area to Chota Bukhari, phase 6 में आती थी. यहाँ पे रोजाना 2 hours का आना, 2 hours का जाना बच्ची के साथ. So during that experience, I realized that there are 3 types of women who are kind of, cherry-picked during the time of interview. So like, for example, if I'm a woman, I'm going to a job interview, they would always ask me these random questions. Are you married? Or are you about to get married? Or are you about to have children? Or is आपका कोई plan है बच्चों का? Because, they want to see how long are they going to stick around.
Okay.
Right? So khair, anyway, job to mujhe mil gayi, and 1.5 month into working I realized that as a mother I had to like give above 100% to prove a point that I'm still productive and I can still do this job.
Do you think that's a fair line of questioning though?
It's not.
It's not fair at all.
It's not at all.
अगर employer के मैं if I can play the devil's advocate, employer आखिर में bottom line देखेगा अपनी, फिर भी fair नहीं है. Do you think कि यार अगर एक worker है, 2 लोग हैं, एक मर्द है एक औरत है, if the woman, I'm not saying it will, but if there is a chance that her productivity might decline, so I need to factor into that, nahin?
I think there's always pros and cons, and I think there's always factors to consider.
Okay.
If the company is an established company, and if it was built on the foundation that we will empower women either way, and we want to build that community for women where they feel welcomed despite their marital status, single ho, shadishuda ho, bachcho, it doesn't matter, and
or divorced.
Exactly. I mean, you know, whatever label that woman has, you should be welcoming enough, because that does not define my productivity or who I am in life or
Absolutely
where I
not.
want to be.
No.
So you're right when it comes to, you know, a company's perspective. When you look into that, you know, the problem, pata hai kya problem yahi hai ki our companies, and even it's not just Pakistan, I tell you, it's everywhere. I mean, you listen to any big women's TED talk, usme bhi sab ye bol rahe honge ki that's the problem, that companies or organizations are built on the idea that they're not going to be welcoming enough towards women in general. And I say this from experience.
Okay.
And I was the one to leave sabse aakhir mein I used to leave the office. And I just used to be bombarded with the randomest of works which was not relevant to my job at all.
Yeah.
And then when I was trying, I just realized that they just did not want me to stick around because I was bringing a kid, even though I was encouraged, you know. So my problem was not this ke I couldn't perform or I didn't do the job well.
Okay.
Maybe I didn't. That's fine. But my problem is that when companies say that, you know, we empower women, oh my God, you have a child, bring it over and stuff. They don't have that policy, and they don't have that welcoming attitude. Even ki jo employees hote hain, they're eyeing me like, okay, so I'm some kind of, you know, मैं पता नहीं कौन हूँ.
So they claim one thing.
They claim one thing and they mean the whole other thing.
The culture does not.
The culture does not, yeah.
अच्छा, आपने अभी बोला कि 3 किस्म की ख़वातीन होती हैं जो, what are the 3 किस्म की ख़वातीन that the companies prefer?
Yeah.
Which ones?
For me,
हाँ.
I think I've been all 3.
Which is?
Before I got married, I was engaged. I was working at a really, really big school. यहाँ पे कराची में, it's one of the biggest schools of Pakistan. I was working there.
Okay.
And I still remember the principal. I was the English teacher for grade 5.
Okay.
And I still remember जब मैंने उनको बताया कि मेरी मंगनी हो गई है या मेरी मंगनी हुई भी है. So she just was caught off guard. She was like, oh, अब तो तुम्हारी शादी होने वाली है. That means I have to hire somebody else in place of you.
Oh, she just assumed.
I was like, why do you assume so? I might stick around. I mean, my house is like literally here. My sasral is here. I would love to stick around. But then she just assumed that and started to look for a replacement. I was
That's
like, what the hell?
Yeah. That's really interesting. Okay.
That is. And you know what? उसी ऑफिस में बैठ के, this is like post marriage, जो मैं अभी जॉब की बात कर रही थी, this is post marriage. So उसी ऑफिस में बैठ के I was like, I must not be the only one going through this kind of a behavior by my employers. And I was like, let me just see, you know, what's the stance out there? What are women going through? And उसी ऑफिस में बैठे बैठे मैंने ऐसे ग्रुप बना लिया. It was not even called Superwomen of Pakistan. It was called Women for Women.
Okay.
That's what it was called in the first, right?
That's a good name also.
Yeah, it's a good name, but it was uske naam se already koi tha group there, so I had to change later on.
Okay.
So I created this group called Women for Women, and I just started pouring my heart out. I was like, you know, do you go through this, or are there any other women? And you won't believe there's literally thousands of women who filled out a survey form that I conducted or commented. One girl, I still remember, she said, "Okay, I was working at a really good school and I got pregnant, and the school found out that I was pregnant and they fired me on spot."
On the spot for being pregnant?
On the spot for being pregnant, because they were like, you probably won't be able to manage this job, so we don't want to deal with the baggage. That's true. That's real story. That's somebody who actually went through that, and you know, and ये सबके साथ होता है, हम सब लड़कियों के साथ कि शादी हो गई and they're just seen as the alien in the company कि भाई अब तो आपकी story different है and you probably don't have enough time, or even like for example I'm a mom, right? So whenever I get invited to talks or anything, I usually always take my kids, and I would
That's
always
wonderful.
take them on stage as well. भले वो चीख रहे होंगे, चिल्ला रहे होंगे, कुछ भी करेंगे, I take them with me, Because if I'm not setting out that example कि me as a mother I can do it and so can you, and वही बात है कि stereotype को break कर देने वाली बात है कि you really need to show better examples of I think as mothers as well as young moms as well who kind of give up on their career and their dreams and their passion. I think as a mom I feel responsible कि I really should be setting out a better example to all of that.
But बिल्कुल, but also it's so jarring ना हमारा जो माशरा है, the societal imperatives that you are governed by कि यार देखो शादी हो गई है ना, बच्चा होना लाजमी है, but also उसको अपने साथ लेके ना घूमो, तो फिर क्यों बच्चा फिर क्यों करना था? You suppose, because the most difficult job in the world that anyone's ever going to do is raise a child.
Yeah.
Right? And that's why it takes at least 2 people, but really it takes a village. Jo bolte hain, it takes a village to raise a child, but that village is supposed to be your extended family.
That's right.
Right? And we do no favors to young parents, to young couples, except pressuring them into having a child, and then just letting them sort it out themselves.
Yeah.
And there's so much damage that's done. साइकोथेरेपी की आप कोई भी थेरेप्यूटिक अप्रोच आप उठा लो, ज़्यादातर जो मसले होते हैं, इनफैक्ट 99% ऑफ द प्रॉब्लम्स कम फ्रॉम चाइल्डहुड, जो प्राइमरी वूंडिंग बोलते हैं जिसको. एंड हम इस चीज़ को मद्देनज़र रखते ही नहीं. हम सिर्फ ये बोलते हैं कि यार बच्चे होने चाहिए. वो आप वाली बात, बच्चे होने चाहिए तो फिर क्या करूँ उनको मैं अगर जॉब पे भी नहीं ला सकती फिर मैं क्या करूँ? मैं भी घर पे रहूँ, क्या करूँ? यू नो व्हाट आई मीन? और आपने एक और बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग बात की. I have spoken to other people about this before. कि बाहर, and I know I don't want to make this about इधर versus बाहर, लेकिन whether it's North America or Europe, वहाँ पे people live their lives past, people just live their lives. It doesn't matter how old they are. You could find a 45-year-old trying something for the first time.
Yeah.
You could find a 70-year-old picking up a new habit for the first time. Right? Or picking up not even a habit, a profession, right? यहाँ पे I think overwhelmingly past a certain age, men also, but women especially, past a certain age एक expiry date लगी हुई होती है कि इसके बाद तो बस फिर खत्म हो गई बात. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I think it has more to do with our cultural practices than anything else.
Okay.
Growing up, we are just told to live a certain way or live in a confined box, and then bas and we've just standardized this way of living. Okay, शादी हो गई, ठीक है, अब इस एज, अब इतने शादी कितने दिन बाद बच्चा हो जाना चाहिए आपका, और अब बस आपने for example for girls like myself, या जो बहुत ज़्यादा पढ़ लिख जाती हैं लड़के, डॉक्टर बहू ही जो एक बहुत बड़ा लेबल है, उस पर बड़ी बड़ी कैंपेन्स भी चलाते हैं. बट हम चाहते तो यही ना कि हम अपने घर में अपनी एक बहुत ही पढ़ी लिखी बहू लाएं, बट वो उनके जहन में ये होता है कि हम पढ़ी लिखी बहू इसलिए लेके आ रहे हैं ताकि वो हमारे घर के बच्चों की तरबियत अच्छी करे और हमारे घर का माहौल अच्छा रहे, और एट द सेम टाइम शी इज़ लाइक द सो दैट दे कैन ब्रैग अबाउट हर. सीधी सी बात है, सो दैट दे कैन शोखी भी तो मारनी ना ज़रूरी है. सो आई थिंक उसके साथ जो वो डैमेज कर रहे होते हैं साइकोलॉजिकली लड़कियों पे, आजकल लड़कियां ब्लॉगर्स एंड एवरीबडी एल्स आर सो वोकल अबाउट दिस प्रैक्टिस बिकॉज इट्स सच अ क्रैप प्रैक्टिस. एंड अगर यही होता है तो फिर हम ये भी एट अ सर्टन पॉइंट आई यूज्ड टू थिंक के तो मेडिकल स्कूल्स में लड़कियों की सीट ही नहीं होनी चाहिए इतनी, सिर्फ एक सर्टन परसेंटेज की सीट होनी चाहिए. आई यूज्ड टू थिंक लाइक दैट, स्टार्टेड थिंकिंग लाइक दैट कि भाई व्हाट्स द point? What's the effing point if you're not even letting the girl work or go to the hospital or have a career for herself? Then what is the bloody point for?
So many women will literally be forced out of it, na? Even though they're doctors. So they become doctors, but they're never, lots of them are never allowed to practice, and I think it's a travesty because we need doctors.
Of course.
Also, मुआशरे के हवाले से अगर आप सोचो, हमें डॉक्टर्स की ज़रूरत है,
बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरत है. बट खैर आप क्या कर सकते हैं, कल्चरल प्रैक्टिस है, वी जस्ट हैव टू लिव बाय इट. आप
जो कर रहे हो वही कर सकते हैं. But tell me about the experiences you've had with the Superwomen of Pakistan.
So Superwomen of Pakistan was made, it's going to be 4 years on March 7th. That's the longest time I've stuck by, consistency problems. All creators have this consistent procrastination problem.
Yep.
I've stuck by that, and because of that, lots of avenues have opened up for me. Currently we are having around 58,000 khawaateen iske andar. So this community has now become a space for female women who either run a small business or would like to start a small business or just want to do something in their lives. So it's not that kind of a community where women come and share their marital issues and etc., because there's lots of spaces for that already. They're empowering females in their own capacity. However, I have a certain vision for superwomen. So I believe कि ख़वातीन को अगर कोई एजुकेशन के हवाले से कोई सवाल है या बिजनेस के हवाले से, फॉर एग्जांपल कोई पैकेजिंग है वो कहाँ से ख़रीदनी है, या प्रिंट कहाँ से होगा, लेबल लोगो कौन बनाएगा, एटसेट्रा. So community started to become a space for women who are running small businesses. There's a very small, next to nothing actually, subscription fee attached to it, so that they can follow the certain rules as well. Discipline is obviously the most important thing to run the community in a certain way. और फिर वो advertise करती हैं. So we have I think 3 to 4 advertising days, and उसके अंदर वो अपने seller code के साथ they just advertise their product and
okay, wonderful.
So that's the way.
Fees कितनी है?
So for 2-month plan, I'm charging 849 rupees.
Okay, fantastic.
Which is जिसमें वो 2 दिन advertise करती हैं, and every day they get 4 chances to post about their product.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, here's why that's really, really interesting, because women that don't have support systems like that, if they choose to operate independently, start a business, तो ज़्यादातर उनका होता है सामना मर्दों से, right? And there is this I have heard. So I have 2 sisters. One of them is running a restaurant right now in Hyderabad. Allah उसको कामयाब करे. With my brother and my mom. So I am cognizant of the fact कि ख़वातीन women just have to go that extra mile to be taken seriously. Where, right, my brother or I will say something to someone कि यार ये ऐसा कर दो, सर हो जाएगा कल, right? Versus if my sister says the same thing, it just doesn't have the same weight, right? And ठीक है, मर्दों को सुधारना है, लाजमी है, मुआशरा बदलना है, लाजमी है, लेकिन that I think is secondary, क्योंकि काम तो होना पहले. अगर आपका काम ही नहीं होगा तो आप यहाँ पे कैसे रहोगे? You know what I mean? If you can't sustain yourself, because a lot of these endeavors, ये भरे पेट की मस्ती नहीं होती है. You know, a lot of these endeavors are people or are women trying to make ends meet. And so अगर काम नहीं होगा तो फिर बच्चे पालना and all those things तो secondary हो गया ना, unfortunately. नहीं होना चाहिए, लेकिन हो गया. You have to sustain yourself first. So I think it's very interesting that you've said कि that's your vision for it, कि small businesses, or even jobs,
even jobs doesn't matter. So it's not just a space for women to talk about their businesses. It's a space for growth. It's a space for women to have a certain goal in their lives and where they want to see themselves and कहाँ जाना है उनको, you know. So the conversation doesn't stop here कि आपका बस एक छोटा business है, for example कोई candle maker है, and that's it, that's what you should be doing. But नहीं, I always preach big on, you know, just never say no to yourself. Just wake up every day, start this practice के आप अपने आप को हाँ बोले किसी एक चीज़ के लिए, and you know, start living your life and start having fun with what you do. That's the most important bit, because these days women who are constantly at home, and I think post-COVID that this just hit differently. Staying at home it just meant that you're grounded, like, you know, आप jail हो गए बिल्कुल, आपको jail हो गई literally. That's what it felt like. So the frustration and the anxiety that came with staying at home, constantly looking after children, and then cooking all the time, making snacks all the damn time, ordering food, and you know whatnot, it just ruined so much of, you know, your mental peace. So now I'm just like, you know, just have fun at least once in a while, everyone. It's okay to live your life, man. It's okay to, I mean, you have responsibilities, you have a certain set of things that you have to, you know, करनी है आपने दिन भर. आप उन कामों को तो नहीं इग्नोर कर सकते. बट एट द सेम टाइम इफ़ यू, फॉर एग्जांपल, कितनी लड़कियां हैं जो कि डॉक्टर हैं मेरे ग्रुप में, एंड दे हैव बिजनेसेस, सच ऑड बिजनेसेस. दे सम, एक लड़की है उसका ब्राउनीज का बिजनेस है, एक लड़की इवेंट प्लानर है. आई एम अ फार्मासिस्ट, आई एम नॉट अ प्रैक्टिसिंग फार्मासिस्ट, आई एम अ मार्केटियर बाय हार्ट, एंड आई जस्ट एब्सोल्युटली लव क्रिएटिंग कॉन्टेंट, फनी कॉन्टेंट एंड रेलेवेंट मॉम रिलेटेड कॉन्टेंट. सो आई एम जस्ट डूइंग इट बिकॉज यार, if I am not going to be able to inspire somebody else, then I just literally, you know, मेरी भी एक practice है, और मैं रोज़ाना सोती हूँ ये सोच के कि have I said anything or done anything आज के दिन में, पूरे दिन में मैंने कुछ ऐसा किया है कि किसी को अच्छी लगी हो बात, या कोई inspired feel हुआ मेरी बात से. And it's literally like, it's subconsciously I'm always thinking like, have I done something positive in somebody else's life? And that's what keeps me going as well. That's what helps me create more and be more and show a better example.
I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
What's funny is usually I'll be speaking to Wahab, but he's not here. I'll be speaking to the camera. Okay, Wahab, yahan kaat dena. He's actually here. This is interesting. No,
Right.
Okay. So you were speaking about all the good that the community is doing. Any challenges? Obviously, so you have a supportive family, right?
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. But any challenges otherwise?
Oh yeah.
Speak to me about those.
There's so much of social media bullying that has taken place with respect to me being an admin or running my community a certain way. And I think Kaval has also talked about that, and we've both gone through this. I think usko to khair uska to kuch dusra hi level hai uski bullying ka, but you know, this has happened with me a lot during, I think, COVID times as well. So when I actually never charged before, when I started my community, I only started charging after 2 whole years of providing the platform for free.
Okay.
And then, you know, it was always a free advertising group. Rules होते थे सख्त वाले किस्म के कि 4 pictures से ज़्यादा नहीं लगानी, because I feel like एक frame में आपकी 4 pictures आती हैं, people don't want to click more, and you know.
Sure.
So I just had that vision for the way people should advertise. So when I started to charge the members or register, and वो भी मैंने 500 रुपये से स्टार्ट किया था लिटरली, एंड इट्स नॉट अबाउट द मनी ऑनेस्टली, इट्स जस्ट टू कीप stay motivated as well in the process, because obviously, I mean, come on, you're running a platform for free, nobody's paying you to do it.
No.
Facebook's not paying me, obviously. No other brands are reaching out every now and then, ke bhai ye campaign and etc. I mean, that happens, but it's not a rose ka kaam, right? So with that came a lot of bashing and a lot of harsh comments, and people started talking shit about me, my kids. They were bringing my kids into the process, my husband, my life, and they were like,
what would they say? What's the problem?
There was this comment by this girl, I still remember her name, but I'm not going to say it. She said कि you know, हराम का पैसा कमा रही है और बच्चों को हराम खिला रही है.
ठीक है, good.
That's what she said.
So I would love right now to unpack that, लेकिन मैं थोड़ा सा उसको abstain करके आगे चलूँगा. Why do you think that's such a problem? एक वैसे ही ख़वातीन पैसे कमा रही हैं इस मुआशरे में, वैसे ही एक मसला है, right? What is it that's such a problem with it? क्योंकि ये मुझे भी 2-3 दफ़ा मिला है कि so if your जब तक आपके पॉडकास्ट से आप पैसे नहीं कमा रहे हो वो ठीक है, बट अगर आप पैसे कमा रहे हो तो फिर मुझे भी दो. Guests will say stuff like this, and I'm like, but that doesn't make any sense at all, because पूरी दुनिया में ऐसा होता है कि you know, if you're coming on to a podcast, your guest, it's just an interesting relationship that we have with money, I think.
Yeah.
लेकिन ये जो खातून है, हराम का पैसा कैसे हो गया?
पता नहीं मुझे. देर लाइक, अच्छा उनकी पता है मेंटालिटी क्या थी, और आई थिंक बहुत अरसे अब तो खैर दिस हैज़ नॉर्मल. सो व्हेन आई स्टार्टेड चार्जिंग, लॉट्स ऑफ अदर ग्रुप्स आल्सो स्टार्टेड चार्जिंग. आई एम माई ग्रुप इज़ नॉट द ओनली ग्रुप, बहुत सारे ग्रुप्स हैं. सो दिस बिकेम काइंड ऑफ अ नॉर्मल प्रैक्टिस फॉर लॉट्स ऑफ अदर ग्रुप एडमिन्स टू स्टार्ट टेकिंग advantage of obviously their position as an admin of a big community like I was in that position. So I think mentality is this कि भाई आपका जो group है, it's a free space.
Yep.
And Facebook provides it to you for free.
Yep.
What they don't understand is that it requires 24/7 work. It requires you to keep a strong check on what conversations people are having. It requires for you to keep a check on if anybody's leg pulling or, you know, bringing any other woman down. Or if anyone is just being, you know, conversation is not relevant enough. For example, अगर कोई सास बहू के झगड़े मसले मसाइल करना शुरू हो गया उसमें, so that's not the conversation I'm looking for. I, as an admin, I still have like 2 moderators. One मेरी सिस्टर मॉडरेट करती हैं और मेरी एक फ्रेंड मॉडरेट करती है, बट यू नो आई हैव टू डू इट माई सेल्फ बिकॉज इट इज़ माई कम्युनिटी. आई नो कि मुझे इसको किस तरह का रखना है. सो आई एम वेरी I think I'm very strict and very OCD about the way I want my community to be like. That is something that has always helped me keep it safe and keep it trash free. But I think that's the mentality कि अगर Facebook ने आपको ये फ्री क्या ये ग्रुप बनाया हुआ है तो फिर आप क्यों पैसे ले रही हैं?
I think निदा एक और मसला ये भी होता है कि we also take generally as a society we take a lot of liberty. In fact, we take so much liberty that we infringe on the other person's liberty. Just for instance, if someone's out here, right, making content, whatever, someone's making a video, someone's live on Instagram, someone's taking a post, right, people assume, हमारे मुआशरे में generally, लेकिन इंटरनेट पे हर जगह ऐसा होता है, I would think, कि people assume fair game है.
Yeah.
मतलब फिर जो है मतलब जो मर्जी आए इसको बोल सकते हैं, जो मर्जी आए इससे करवा सकते हैं. आप लाइफ पे थे. Lots of people are making such wonderful conversation, but there's lots of other people that will literally come on and you know say whatever, like अब गाना गा के दिखाओ. यार मैं बंदर हूँ, मतलब it's you know आखिर में that's the thought that comes to your mind immediately. या तुम सिंधी हो ना, सिंधी बोल के दिखाओ. What? You know, like that's so strange, ना?
बिल्कुल ही mindless comments उस बगैर सोचे जो आप बोल देते हैं ना.
Exactly. And I feel कि that kind of behavior एक ज़माने में नहीं होता था because there was consequences. एक ज़माने में अगर कोई आके आपको बोलता था, क्योंकि पहली बात तो they would not be able to say it anonymously. They'd say it to your face. And if you said something like that to someone's face कि आप हराम का कमाते हैं, there'd be a consequence. मार कुटाई अगर नहीं भी होती, कम से कम एक डिसएग्रीमेंट होती, दूसरा बंदा विजिबली अपसेट होता. बट व्हेन you're a photo on a screen somewhere, आई फील वो बड़ा मसला हो गया है कि एक एनोनिमिटी हो गई है ना, तो एक कॉन्सिक्वेंसेज से हम डिटैच हो गए. हम एक बात बोलते हैं, उसके हमें क्या कुछ भी नहीं होगा, क्या होगा? You know, someone's upset. Okay, Nida's upset, but I don't see her as being upset.
Yeah.
She's just a photo on a screen somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like there's more of that. And what that's done is that's given light to हम किस किस्म के लोग हैं. I think we're bad people.
That's true. Also, because we never had... social media was never this big.
Nope.
It wasn't easy for a lot of creators to emerge. हम पहले ज़माने में क्या सिर्फ जानते थे कि बस नुमान इजाज़ है और सबा कमर है, और मतलब ये TV celebrities were it for us, right? Like, and it was easy to pass comments sitting at home, TV पे देख रहे हैं जो भी देख रहे हैं. But then again, उनकी सिर्फ acting ही हमारे सामने थी. But social media became an actual virtual experience. You know, like two people are sitting. अब लाइफ में क्या है, लाइक मैं इधर बैठी हूँ, आप उधर बैठे हो, बट दैट्स व्हाट दे फील लाइक, यू नो, इट्स अ वर्चुअल स्पेस, बट एट द सेम टाइम दे काइंड ऑफ लाइक, oh, I'm just gonna sit and get away with it. So that's the kind of attitude attached to it, because social media became such an enormous multiverse. That's what it is now. And I think लोगों को अब जो है ना वो वाला एक डर ख़त्म हो गया अपने दिमाग में. खौफ खुदा तो खैर अब छोड़ ही दें, वो तो बहुत ही बिल्कुल ही एब्सेंट है पिक्चर से. बट एक होता है ना कि आपको you just feel like nobody is going to say anything to me, nobody is going to call me out on a certain thing, like,
and most people don't get called out, na?
Like for example, the other day I remember you saying something like कि किसी ने मुझे गाली दी, कुछ इस तरह की कोई बात की, and you actually gave your full attention to this person कि अच्छा सही, तो what made you say that, right? So ये लोग ना इस चीज़ से डरते हैं.
या डरते हैं या चाहते हैं.
I don't know, it's just twisted, right? It's a very twisted mindset कि आपने उनको full attention दे दी. And I did the same, like with this girl, I said it to her on Messenger. I could have called out on my public platform, right? I took that comment from another community where she was saying all that crap about me, and I was like, what the hell? And I messaged her. I was decent enough to message, and I was like, dude, what the hell? What have I ever done to you? And I didn't say that, what have you ever done to me? I was like, you have used my space for your business when it was free, and now you go say shit about me on some other platform. Like, what the hell? What does this say about you?
How did she respond?
She did not. She just
Nothing?
Disappeared. Yeah, she didn't respond to that. And बहुत से मौक़ों पे ऐसा हुआ है, people would say certain things, and you know, I would get really mad about it, and I would bombard everything on Fahad and be like, this is happening. And then, but there came a point where he was like, Nida, you just need to shut this community down because this is affecting you. And I had become this really angry person, and I was like angry on my kids, angry at home, बस हर वक्त मूड ख़राब है. और आपको पता ना कराची की लाइफ बड़ी frustrated सी लाइफ है. Ever since I moved to Bahria, it's gotten a lot better because I get to go out, sit with friends, go out with my phone, do photography even in my street without having the fear. Walk around, man, come on, walk around freely with my children playing outside in the park. So life has gotten alhamdulillah much better. बट एट द सेम टाइम सिटी में क्या होता है भाई, हम सबकी लाइफ क्या है, हम बैठे रहते हैं बच्चों के साथ, और स्कूल्स भी बंद हैं, कुछ नहीं कर सकते, मियाँ ऑफिस गया हुआ है, एंड देन यू आर जस्ट होम, नो वेयर टू गो, मॉल्स भी बंद हैं, कहीं पार्क नहीं जा सकते, किसी से बात नहीं, जो कर रहे हैं फ़ोन, जो द टोटल आपका जो स्केप है ना वो आपका सेलफोन है. एंड देन सेलफोन बिकम्स दिस डार्क एक्सपीरियंस फॉर यू, दैट एवरी अदर टाइम यू ओपन फेसबुक, और एवरी अदर टाइम यू ओपन योर मैसेंजर, समबडी सेइंग शिट अबाउट यू इन योर मैसेंजर, और यू नो on Facebook.
एक बड़ा मसला ये भी है ना कि आप देखो माशाल्लाह से आपने बोला तकरीबन 60,000 ख़वातीन की कम्युनिटी है.
Yeah.
One of the issues obviously is yours, mine, anyone's physical apparatus, हमारा जो equipment है ना, जो हमारा दिमाग वगैरह है, it's not built to interact simultaneously with 50,000 people.
Yeah, that's right.
The most I think we can house is maybe 50 people.
Yeah.
Maybe 80 people. अगर हम कोई बहुत ही next level किस्म के लोग हैं,
Yeah.
बहुत बड़ा दिमाग है, बहुत बड़ी सोच है, बहुत सुकून है हमारी ज़िंदगी में, शायद 80 लोगों से हम simultaneously interact कर सकें. We're not built to do this, you know, like just and so आप वाली बात उस वक्त भी लाइव पे भी comments आते हैं कि यार आप ना इनको तवज्जो दें. That is the right way to go, because अगर आप कोशिश करोगे कि यार ये जो 80 लोग हैं इनसे मैं properly interact करूँ, like in detail, that's just a recipe for disaster. Like you will burn out. It's impossible not to.
It's impossible not to.
It's
But
impossible not to.
it's a human factor of all of us, I guess. But at the same time, it's easier said than done when you say, "Okay, don't pay any heed to all these
Of course.
comments." Lekin, I'm at a much better mental, peaceful place now, I guess. Now when somebody says crap about me and I'm like, okay, cool.
Cool.
Good job.
Good for you.
That's what you could say. I mean, that's fine, whatever. I don't indulge and I don't like, मैंने जवाब देना छोड़ दिया. जो कहते हैं ना कि वो बड़ा मजे का एक वो meme है कि if somebody is saying 2 + 2 is 5, you just say, okay, that's right.
That's right.
So I'm
That's
like
right.
2 + 2 is 5. Yeah, that's right.
Cool. Yeah. अभी recently आप थोड़ा करीब कर लो माइक को.
Okay.
हाँ, अभी recently होना है या हो रहा है औरत मार्च?
हो रहा है.
हाँ. What are your views about that?
I support it to an extent. Oh my God.
क्या?
Somebody might hold me accountable for whatever I'm going to
नहीं,
say.
करेगा.
I do support Aurat March full-fledged, and I haven't marched ever.
Okay.
I haven't been able to go because बच्चों की वजह से I've just never been able to go.
Okay.
I would like to go. But then again, देखें ये औरत मार्च में सारी वो ख़वातीन आ रही हैं जो कि हर बैकग्राउंड से आ रही हैं. So there are some women who stand for something like खाना खुद गरम कर लो, and there are some women who are coming for something like stop harassing us on the streets.
Sure.
So everybody has a different story, and I don't want to say that one is right and one is wrong. But then again, we all have the right to be able to stand up for what we believe in and what we, what we preach.
No,
so that's what Aurat March is.
Yeah, that's a very temperate answer. I think that's very good. I feel like recently, अभी ज़ाहिर है बोलेंगे यार आप मर्द हो आप बोली कैसे रहे हो, लेकिन I feel like जो recently they've lost their bite. I think they've become internal. I don't know क्या हो रहा है, मैं तो नहीं जानता उनको, लेकिन I feel like there's a internal shift of some sort and they've lost, like एक bite होता था औरत मार्च का, वो अब कम होता जा रहा है. I feel like there's some kind of confusion in the messaging. Like as an outsider, as a complete outsider, I've never marched. I've not spoken to I would love to speak to these people. They just don't want to talk to me, I think. But थोड़ी सी confusion हो गई है. Like जो उन्हें 14 points निकाले, some of the stuff they're talking about, I'm just like यार पता नहीं.
ये वही वाली बात है ना कि so Aurat March is one group of women.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
They are trying to march for all the women of
inshallah.
Pakistan,
Yeah.
right? So then again, if somebody like me or if somebody like you, we don't agree with certain points, and it's okay to disagree or it's okay to not see eye to eye. हम हर दफ़ा तो नहीं एक नज़र पे देख सकते, right? They need more women who represent their group. And then, so like they should have the opportunity to have all these women who believe in certain things. Not everybody believes कि ऐसा ही होना चाहिए.
सही.
Right?
सही.
So they're not probably having all these women who believe in वो जो भी इनका belief है. So I think there's a lack of if there's a lack of messaging, I don't think कि उसमें कुछ गलत है. Message गलत हो सकता है. I just think that they probably need more women coming from different and diverse backgrounds, and for them to share their truth, and then they could, make it into an amalgamation of this entire better message.
Sure. Yeah. I think they, which is such a strange thing to say, I think they have an inclusivity problem. I really do think sometimes, I think sometimes they want to be a little exclusive towards some members of society. And एक और मसला जो मुझे feel होता है, which again, I've said it all the time कि I would love to have this conversation, but that's all it is. मैं किसी पे इल्ज़ाम नहीं लगा रहा हूँ, लेकिन I feel कि they do create false dichotomies. So they do think they will behave sometimes like अगर मैं ये बात बोल रही हूँ और आप आगे से disagree कर रहे हो तो obviously मैं सही हूँ और आप गलत हो. And obviously that's the only way this world can exist, right? There is no third option. It is not possible.
Middle ground नहीं है यहाँ पे.
Middle ground तो छोड़ो. It's not possible for you to not agree with me but still be right. ये चीज़ नहीं हो सकती है. तो and that I feel पहले जो है even a year ago that would really upset me. And I would get worked up and I would be like nahi. I'd go all philosophical on them and be like, logically, this makes no sense. But I think I've calmed down. And again, the thing is, more than anything else, it's hurting their own movement. Because like I said, ek zamane mein, this thing used to have bite. And this thing used to have promise. And I still feel like it represents hope to so many people. And so many people, khawaateen गाँवों से आती हैं इस चीज़ के लिए. You know what I mean?
Right,
so it's powerful that it can collect, it can become a collective. Here's the problem though, वो गाँव से आती हैं, ये औरत मार्च में आपके slogans देखती हैं और आपका they are enamored by your thought and then they go back to their gowns, right?
Yeah.
So sure, you think you've given them something to empower them, but they might just get killed for it.
Yeah, nothing's changing for them.
Nothing's changed in their physical environment.
Yeah.
तो आपने जो है एक तरीके से you've damned these people, you know? क्योंकि आप just because you weren't cognizant of the cultural context, क्योंकि आप privilege से आ रहे थे या जो भी, और आपने एक बात बोल दी, और ये बहुत नॉर्मल बात है. मैं कोई मेरा जिसम मेरी मर्जी is completely all right, but अपनी रोटी खुद गर्म करो. You think she gets to say that?
Yeah.
Back where she's going.
Yeah.
You think that won't end her up in like a hospital bed or something?
वही तो बात है ना कि मैसेजिंग की बात है यहाँ पे. There is nothing wrong with औरत march and there is nothing wrong with marching at all. I mean, if you believe there is कुछ गलत हो रहा है आपके शहर में, आपके मुल्क में, आपके साथ, and it's this is what Me Too movement is all about. Absolutely. As well. And
yes.
all of these things that women are coming up and speaking about their truths, and they were, God knows, they were harassed in a certain way or by a certain celebrity or whatever level that all of this is happening at. I still think, I would still stick by what I said, okay, they need a bigger narrative, they need more stories, they need more women representatives coming from all the different kinds of backgrounds. भले वो गांव की खातून हो, भले वो एक अर्बन एरिया में पॉश इलाके में बैठी हुई हो, क्योंकि देखें हर खातून की that's what something like Aurat March could be turned even more beautifully, because every woman has a story.
Of course.
Right? And I say this all the time, that my story is your story. This is like my tagline. कि मेरी story में कोई सी special बात नहीं है, because I am able to relate with so many of you, and that's why I want to be a representative for who you are and what you are at your home. So I'm that representative of a young woman, of a young Pakistani mom, or all that I'm doing. So yeah. So I still think there's nothing wrong with the narrative. I just think that they need more of a collective vision than just certain parties' vision. That's what they're kind of. And असल में पता फिर क्या होता है, फिर बदनाम भी ना वही वाला एस्पेक्ट हो जाता है. वो जो 2-3 कमेंट्स है ना, जिससे काफ़ी सारी ख़वातीन भी डिसएग्री कर रही होती है. इट्स ओके टू डिसएग्री. आई होप नोबडी टेक्स दिस एज एन ऑफेंस, बिकॉज वी कैन डिसएग्री स्टैंडिंग in the same march on certain pointers.
I think if someone takes offense at disagreement, that speaks more to them. That speaks more to what kind of a mental state they are in than anything about you. I think अगर disagree करने पे आपको cancel कर दिया जाएगा, तो फिर
नहीं, I'm not afraid of being cancelled or whatever, but I'm just trying to have a point of view कि भाई बहुत सारे ऐसे slogans हैं which I don't agree with and should not have said or should not be taken. मतलब because Aurat March is supposed to be this powerful revolutionary thing which should help change mentality, change norms, change our cultural practices, man. I mean, come on.
Sure.
इन सब चीज़ों के ऊपर भी तो कुछ ना कुछ होना, एंड होता भी होगा. मैंने ये नहीं कह रही कि नहीं होता, वो भी जाते हैं, लेकिन उभर के क्या चीज़ आ जाती है बाहर, वही चीज़ आती है जिससे लोग ज़्यादातर इत्तेफाक नहीं रखते हैं. एंड फिर वही होता है कि जो जो हॉट केक जो होता है ना, जो काइंड ऑफ लाइक दैट्स लाइक देयर, इट जस्ट गेट्स ऑल द अटेंशन एंड ऑल द बेटर एंड गुड स्लोगन्स, दे डोंट गेट अटेंशन. दैट्स द प्रॉब्लम.
Fair
or
enough.
Maybe they could go through all the posters before airing them on media, but then again that there won't be no point. They'll be like, there's no point. Like, we just want this to.
Also, एक मैं बात बताऊँ आपको, media भी ना does not do any favors.
Yeah, they don't.
Media भी थोड़ी
do shit.
sensationalist तो है.
Yeah.
So you obviously occupy digital media. What's your experience been like with legacy media? I mean, you're getting all this attention. Have you interacted with the legacy media at all? आपके channels हो गए, newspapers वगैरह ऐसा कुछ?
I think as a creator, I have had the biggest struggle being consistent. So since the past year, I lost 16 kgs recently last year.
Allah khair करे. एक मिनट, ये अच्छी बात है?
It's a great thing for
Okay,
me.
alhamdulillah. Okay.
So I was never, I never had to struggle with a lot of weight. I was always just fine. Like मेरा BMI हमेशा, कभी मैंने परेशानी की ज़रूरत नहीं पड़ी मुझे कि मैं overweight हूँ या obese हूँ या जो भी. But then I had a miscarriage last year. And then this changes the whole dynamic of the conversation.
No, that's fine.
I started this business with respect to my community. It was called Swinged, Superwomen in Global Economic Development. That's what it stood for.
Okay.
And it was an e-commerce marketplace, just like Daraz is, just like Etsy is. Do you know about Etsy?
I do know about Etsy.
So it was like an Etsy kind of a platform, which was just for women in business. ये मैंने start किया था last year. And I needed to launch it on January 8th, and on 1st January, I found out that I was expecting again. And then out of nowhere, I learned that I had a miscarriage. It was a missed miscarriage, so I never had any symptoms or whatever. It just happened. It was really sad. Second trimester mein hua tha wo. So only after then, I started to gain a lot of weight out of nowhere. And then I shut myself completely down on social media. मैंने बिल्कुल post करना छोड़ दिया. I just disappeared. I just did not feel my best at all. I gained a lot of weight. मेरा vitamin D level was like next to nothing. सिर्फ 12 था, 30 होना चाहिए. It was really bad. So when I became pre-diabetic as well. So I was like, what the hell is happening? My life is just slipping away from my own hands, and I don't have diabetes in my family. And I just felt like this should not be happening. I was 29 and...
Were you eating poorly?
I think I won't entirely blame my eating habits, but yes, I had a sedentary lifestyle. So I wasn't working out a lot. I wasn't walking a lot. And all of this just happened because of constantly vomiting and, pregnancy issues and etc. But at the same time, yes, I did not have such a healthy lifestyle. Like, घर में भी पकता था, but बाहर से भी आता था खाना अच्छा खासा. So with that being said, I never struggled with weight, but then I was 83 kgs out of nowhere, and I was like, what is happening? And I was pre-diabetic. That's not good at all. I was pre-diabetic, and मुझे डॉक्टर ने कहता था कि अभी तुमने ख्याल नहीं रखा ना अपनी डाइट का, so that's it, you get type 2 diabetes. I was like, no. फिर वो last year जून की बात है, तब की बात है, और अब तक क्या, I've left sugar completely, took control of my health, started working out, took help with a trainer, 2 महीने उसके साथ train किया, फिर खुद से इसको continue रखा, because it's a lifestyle change. There's no going back.
Absolutely. Alhamdulillah that you've made this change. But talk to me about the dearth of resources for people, for pregnancies, and then also for miscarriages, because miscarriage is a very difficult thing.
It's a very difficult
thing. But it's a very difficult. The most difficulty is for the woman, not the family, not the husband. मतलब उन सब के लिए बहुत मुश्किल होता है. पर सबसे ज़्यादा तो खातून की अपनी tragedy होती है ना, ये कि miscarriage हो गया.
I wish I could say this simpler, but it really breaks you down completely from inside and outside. And although people extremely glorified normal pregnancies and normal deliveries. भाई normal delivery क्या होती है? पहले तो मुझे आप ये बता. Vaginal delivery होती है, C-section होता है. सही है, let's just go back to basics. So मैं इस चीज़ को पहले content से relate करूँगी, because you asked me about that content, then I can talk about the difficulties of pregnancies and miscarriages. So जब मैंने weight lose करना शुरू किया ना, then I lost around 8 to 10 kgs, and I started to be active on social media a little bit. And then I talked more about how fitness is so important, and mothers को कितनी problem होती है post delivery, and weight gain हो जाता है, and पता नहीं क्या क्या मसले ये तो कुछ भी नहीं. Weight gain is nothing compared to what other shit happens to a female body. So then only I was able to build this other community solely on Instagram, which was more driven towards health, fitness, and just mental well-being of women who are mothers or who are expecting or would like to be mothers. So I started being more active. So then only I was able to build a fairly bigger community on Instagram. Not that big, but khair itni badi hai ke people interact and kind of like that. So yeah, so your question was ke
resources nahi hai is cheez ke.
Resources nahi hai, exactly. So
कि आप जो so you're expecting or you have a miscarriage, where do you go? Like, where do you go to read up on this stuff? Is there support? I don't think there's support groups. Even ab ye jo baat bol rahe ho ke, fitness is important. Sab bolte hain.
Yeah.
It's a cliche.
Yeah.
I've heard this too. Sure, it's important for me as well. But in the context of a woman, post-pregnancy, postpartum, post miscarriage, post any of those things, or pre or during, there's no resources. There's no one telling you what exercises you should do while you're pregnant, because आपकी body जो है वो it completely changes.
Yeah.
So how's that happening? So resources is what I was.
Resources तो है नहीं ना. There are no resources, sadly speaking. Like, there are support groups on Facebook, ऐसा नहीं है. But then again, people are so scared to ask the right question. They would just sugarcoat their whole question. For example, अगर miscarriage के हवाले से कुछ था तो मुझे तो कोई symptoms ही नहीं आए. And I did not know where to go. Like, what? So I still remember I was pregnant and my friend told me to buy a Doppler daras, and I bought a Doppler होता है, इस device होती है, you put it on your tummy and it kind of amplifies the heartbeat of your baby.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, so I was just doing that and I did not get any heartbeat, and Fahad was like, don't worry, कल चली जाना scan के लिए. I just went for a normal scan and this doctor tells me there is no heartbeat. हालांकि सब कुछ detected था, was pretty fair, normal, बिल्कुल normal थी मेरी pregnancy, and I did not have any history of miscarriage as well. So that was the thing. I did not have any resources. I did not have anybody to look up to, because people are not putting out their stories. If they are going through a certain something, they're not putting it out. I had to go for another scan at another hospital through such, वो भी बड़ा एक अजीब सा इंसिडेंट था. बस वो हुआ, फिर then I came home, decided to go for a medical abortion. I did that at Akhan, and then that was the most I think lowest and the most shittiest and the most hurtful experiences of my life, going through that miscarriage. Because मज़े की बात पता है क्या है, what doctors and what others, what everybody else says about a miscarriage is this के जितना औरत का हाल बुरा प्रेगनेंसी में होता है या नॉर्मल डिलीवरी के बाद होता है, उससे ज़्यादा बुरा हाल औरत का मिसकैरेज के बाद होता है. आई डिड नॉट नो दैट. आई डिडंट सी एनीबडी टॉकिंग अबाउट इट, एंड आई नो लॉट्स ऑफ women go through that. And the first thing that someone says to you, that someone said to me post miscarriage, because I still had a belly and I still looked like I was pregnant, and they were like, oh, तुम्हारा 8वां महीना चल रहा है. I'm like, what the fuck are you saying, man? And it hurt. These comments hurt. These are women in my everyday life. These are women I talk to, I sit with. These are, and I think I kind of blame the mindset as well as the heartlessness of this entire situation. Ke if you say to somebody कि मेरा miscarriage हुआ था, they will go and say कि oh मेरी बहन का भी हुआ था, so what's the big deal? That's what somebody's gonna tell you कि भाई it is no big deal. But because women are not talking about their experiences and the hurt and the emotional trauma and the physical trauma that it causes you, nobody would actually be able to understand कि भाई हाँ, it was problematic and it was traumatic for you.
So I understand that there's such difficulty in navigating this space, because what could someone say to you that would be enough? Having said that, I really do feel we need to examine how we interact with each other when it comes to hurt, because I mean sometimes silence is a beautiful thing, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes don't say anything. Sometimes don't say anything. Maybe because I suppose all of us feel this pressure to always know what to say. Sometimes you don't know what to say. Why is that such a bad thing?
We're just trying to fill the gap, fill the silence, I guess. वही बात है, मैं यही सबसे बोलती हूँ कि भाई if you don't have anything nice to say, भाई just shut up, just don't say anything, ना बोले कुछ.
और ये इतनी पुरानी बात है, इतने हमारे जो बड़े हैं, हमारे जो आवाजदाद हैं, ये सबसे पहले तो मेरे ख्याल में हज़रत अली रिज़वाना का कॉल है. I think. Do I think? अल्लाह रहम करे मैंने अगर गलत बोल दिया हो तो. लेकिन ये एक religious idiom है हमारा कि if you don't have anything good to say, just don't say anything. It's not a problem. But so you're saying no resources? No
resources, yeah. Then I wanted to bring this conversation out, whatever that I was going through, because post miscarriage जो depression and anxiety जो मुझे शदीद किस्म मुझे diagnosed, I have general anxiety, like मुझे है. It was diagnosed by a psychiatrist. So that coupled with the depression that came with post miscarriage, and I really didn't know कि भाई कहाँ जाऊँ किसके पास जाऊँ किसके पास, and my sister probably went through it, and so many other women around. It's so common. Miscarriages are so bloody common.
They happen, yeah.
But they don't talk about it that way. They would just glorify कि बच्चा normal होना चाहिए आपका, and that's उसके बाद कोई बात ही नहीं है. बच्चा normal है, they would just judge you right then. आपके अंदर तो सब्र का वही नहीं है, आपके अंदर तो पेन बर्दाश्त करने का मादा ही नहीं, पता नहीं मादा क्या होता है. I don't even know what they say. They just say that. They just use this word. I think tolerance. You don't have the tolerance.
Tolerance for what?
Tolerance for pain, for labor pain. Are you like, khair, this is just.
जी बिल्कुल.
Yeah. So post miscarriage, I think that was the time when I started to be very, very open about my experience with my community on Instagram, and I was like, and you know, सबसे मजे की बात पता है, the most beautiful that came out of me being open about my experiences was that so many girls DM'd me. They were like, Nida, I feel like I'm reading my story. I feel like you are telling my story here, and I just went through this, and it was not cool, it was not okay, and nobody's telling me that it was not okay. Sometimes you just want to hear that it's going to be okay. Yeah, and nobody's taking that to you.
I think one of the most important things that you could say to anyone is that it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're broken, like, then you're broken. Ab kya kare?
Yeah.
This is still you.
Yeah.
Are you going to give up on yourself? You could, right? That's an option.
Yeah.
But do you want to? I don't think you should. You know, I still think there's so much worth in you, and I think, you know, इतने सारे खूबसूरत idioms होते हैं about मुहावरे होते हैं about ये, you know, if you're cracked, that's where the light comes in, and all those beautiful things, right? Or if you're cracked,
there's always a light at the end of the dark tunnel. इस तरह के जो phrases हैं.
Gold, it's beautiful, right? But it's also okay to not be okay. It's okay to be broken, right? I mean, a miscarriage is a very serious thing. बहुत होती हैं, ठीक है. It's common, unfortunately. But again, I just don't have the numbers right now. But if it's common, first off, why don't we look into why it's so common?
Yeah.
You know, could we maybe make resources more available? अब ये बातें ज़ाहिर है, लोग बोल रहे हैं यार लोगों के पास खाना खाने के लिए नहीं है. But here's the thing, right? That conversation, poverty and dearth, and this conversation can be had at the same time. We need to have room for multiple conversations. So resources made available for people, just to educate them on how to be in a pregnancy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like when you're pregnant, maybe you should do certain exercises. I just don't know, right? I'm just so illiterate about this, and that frustrates me because in a time जहाँ पे हर किस्म का content बनाया जा रहा है और हर किस्म का content बनाया जा सकता है, इसके ऊपर नहीं बना रहे. No one's talking about this, and no खातून, no doctors think that this will be a good way of creating content.
No.
Anyone who's a doctor, please, you know, like seriously.
I know, yeah, and I think while I was going through that experience as well, so हमारे जो ना sadly हमारा जो हॉस्पिटल्स का जो कल्चर ना वो भी बड़ा ही रूड और बड़ा ही वियर्ड किस्म का है. आई डोंट थिंक कि सारे हॉस्पिटल्स में, सब मेजॉरिटी में यही होता है. आई स्टिल रिमेंबर आई वाज लाइक आई वांटेड टू गेट द स्कैन डन, एंड यू नो यू नीड डॉक्टर्स प्रिस्क्रिप्शन के आपको स्कैन कराना है जस्ट टू मेक श्योर कि वेदर माई चाइल्ड इज स्टिल अलाइव और नॉट. सो आई रिमेंबर आई वॉकड इनटू द ER एंड दिस डॉक्टर वाज लाइक क्या है. She said that, and I was like, मुझे स्कैन कराना है just to make sure everything is okay. She was like, क्यों कराना है ना, क्या मसला है. मैंने कहा बस आप मुझे लिख देना, what's the problem. And I was on the verge of like crying. I was like, what the hell. I then rushed back to the scan, got that done, went back to the ER, and I was crying, and only then that doctor was sweet to me. It was like, oh okay, you know. So you know, we are just so, ठीक है, you go through this crap every single day, but that should not kill the humanity in you. I mean, come on, if somebody looks sad or seems upset, at least just have the decency to sound humane. I mean, वही बात आ जाती है कि real life में भी हम ऐसे ही हैं. Social media पे तो this gives us more freedom ना, to be whoever the hell we want or stay whatever the hell we want.
I think with ER doctors especially ना, आप सिर्फ उनके shift hours सुनोगे ना.
I know, I empathize, I do really.
But I mean, it's not for, listen, it's not for you or me to empathize. हम फिर भी उनके पास 10 पेशेंट आ रहे हैं, हमारे पास एक ही डॉक्टर है. It's not for us to empathize, but it's for the management to maybe consider कि यार if you're going to keep these people on shift for 36 hours or 24 hours or whatever,
you're gonna lose it. Yeah.
Anything that happens, if anyone gets hurt because of negligence, उनकी गलती नहीं है. आप जो है उनको घोड़ों की तरह, गधों की तरह चला रहे हो, ये गलती आपकी है. But no one cares because again, insulated. Like they're detached from the consequences.
Yeah. And I just really, after all of this experience, I just really hope and pray that more women should come forward. And they are. Lots of people are. But then again, there's a larger population that's obviously not using social media or don't have the access to the right means for learning. कि भाई कितनी औरतों के पास तो internet ही नहीं है to begin with. But I just really wish that, people started talking about how incredibly painful this experience was for me. And I just try to convey that message that after this, उसके बाद भी 10 किस्म की complications हैं which you probably don't know are going to happen, but they are going to happen. So you better just keep a lookout for that.
When women, obviously, देखो, now you've been brave. Allah आपको हिफ्ज़ ईमान में रखे अपने. Obviously, they'll see you. Anyone who's following you will see you, and maybe that'll give them the courage to come forward themselves as well. Talk about this stuff. But when women don't, what do you think stops them? Just society?
I think growing up, we're always told to keep quiet. And I think they're scared. In one way, in one word, if I were to say, okay, why aren't they sharing it? They're just so scared to say it out. What if somebody just कोई उनके घर में ना जाके बता दे, कोई इनके हस्बैंड को ना जाके बता दे, कोई इस मैसेज का स्क्रीनशॉट ना ले ले, कोई इनके पोस्ट का कुछ बिकॉज आजकल यही सब चीज़ें तो अटैच्ड है ना. और हम अगर रियल लाइफ में भी अगर हम बात करें कि इफ़ अ फ्रेंड ऑफ माइन इज़ गोइंग थ्रू इट she probably won't just come out to me and just say that I went through this.
Why?
Or I am going through this. I don't know. So I am somebody that they can relate with. They know that I have gone through it because I've posted about it in the first place. Only then somebody would come up to me and be like, you went through that and I'm going through the same thing. It has happened with me. Some of my friends went through that. And only I think after I was, one of my really good friends went through something like that. And only after I was so open about my experience, she felt safe to come up to me and just say it. That's really sad,
It's very sad.
It's really sad.
And I think that also speaks to obviously how supportive your husband is and how supportive your family is.
Yeah.
Lekin the sad part is that they are the exception. That's a problem, right? They are the exception, not the norm. And generally, she was scared of her best friend. She was scared of sharing hurt with her best friend.
Yeah.
इस ऐसे हर्ट में जिसमें उनकी अपनी कोई गलती भी नहीं है.
Yeah, उनकी गलती नहीं है.
It's not someone's fault that this happens. Just like how there's such taboos and stigmas around mental health. Again, it's not someone's fault that someone's depressed, man.
Yeah.
It's उनकी गलती नहीं होती है ये खुद ही हो जाता है.
नमाज पढ़ो सब डिप्रेशन चला जाएगा. That's what they get to hear.
उसमें भी देखो again. It's interesting. There are psychotherapeutic approaches that that will prescribe something very close to what a namaz is actually supposed to be like.
That's true.
Actual namaz. ये वाली नहीं. मतलब जो actual namaz होती है ना, जिसमें आप like for instance, Carl Jung is a psychotherapist and he's also a philosopher. और उनने काफ़ी ये बातें की थी कि अगर इस तरीके से meditation की जाए ना, नमाज तो खैर अब वो I don't even know. लेकिन वो जो होते हैं, जो ये dismissive attitude होता है कुछ religiously inclined लोगों का, वो तो अब क्या ही बोलूँ उसको मैं.
Yeah, that's like a whole different conversation.
Yeah, उस पे फिर जो है मतलब बाहर बोला ना जाएगी.
Yeah.
Allah रहम करे. I once made this joke.
Allah रहम करे
कि how जो आपके आर्मी वाले लोग होते हैं उनके बारे में बोला जाता है कि बाहर काली वीगो आ जाएगी. I'm like cool. हाँ, I'm like okay cool. I don't know why. मतलब it could be any car अगर आना है उनको तो. लेकिन similarly I used to think कि अगर religious extremists आएंगे, खुदा ना खास्ता जो हमारे पास यहाँ पे होता है, तो वो किस में आएंगे?
बुलान में आएंगे. बुलान just makes more fitting.
It makes more sense.
Fitting.
It makes more sense, I think. कि वो इस किस्म की गाड़ी में है because it's just such a convenient car.
Yeah.
अब मैं सोच रहा हूँ मुझे बुलान लेनी चाहिए.
अल्लाह ने करे.
क्यों? ऐसे घूमने के लिए क्या मतलब?
अच्छा, घूमने के लिए फिर सही है.
अच्छा, so you've interacted with so many people. I'm sure with superwomen of Pakistan, but now this other thing as well. ये जो सारा है. what's a common theme do you feel? If say 50 people have I don't know how many have, but let's say 50 people have interacted with you, they've messaged you, what's a common concern of theirs? One common thing if you can think of.
It's almost always a personal struggle that they're going through. It could be related to their business, it could be related to their health or fitness. किसी का weight अटक गया किसी जगह पे, they'll just be like, so it's always a personal struggle that they're messaging me about. Okay, Nida, we just want to know because you talked about this. Can you help out? So I try my best to respond to.
Of course, inshallah. But isn't that sad? Ki, you know, because ek zamane mein you used to have friends for that.
Yeah.
You know, you just if agar, for instance, if I'm not losing weight anymore, you know, there was a time you could just talk to someone.
It's so sad. It's more sad when you really, you know, now that you've said it, it's really sad because our friends are so judgmental too. I mean, that's what these memes are all about. जो TikTok पे लोग बना रहे होते हैं, you know, all of this content is coming, rushing into social media. Most of the content is talking about what? That, you know, can't even trust people anymore. Your own friends. And, you know, आपको पता है सबसे मज़े की बात, इससे चीज़ मुझे याद है कि मेरे अपने ग्रुप में ना इतनी लड़कियां मुझे मैसेजेस करती हैं कि सेइंग कि हम अपनी प्रोफाइल से अपने बिजनेस के बारे में पोस्ट नहीं कर सकते बिकॉज हमारे बहुत सारे ख़ानदान के लोग हैं आपके ग्रुप में अपेरेंटली एंड वी डोंट वांट देम टू नो दैट वी आर रनिंग दिस बिजनेस. इट इज़ सच अ कॉमन message that I get every now and then, and they're like, they're scared, or I don't know, they're scared of the judgments that people are going to pass. And I have a giant community. You don't think कि मुझे ख़ानदान में लोग कभी कुछ बोलते होंगे, मुझे भी सुनने को मिलती है कभी कभी, every now and then, like not my very close people, not my khala, not my my mother didn't really get to see, but that's where Fahad comes in, as you know, somebody who's like, you either listen to that crap or you just stay focused
you can't do both.
Don't be a typical person. You're not a typical housewife. You are somebody who has to be career driven, and he just tells me just stay focused.
I think that's you cannot put a value on how valuable that is, mashallah se.
Or he could have, like, you know, लोग उनसे भी कुछ ना कुछ बोलते ही होंगे, I'm 100% sure.
But he's never told you?
No, he doesn't bring it up. He doesn't think it's worth having to talk about that. He could have easily said, if he was a typical husband, you know, he would have said something like, तुमने ऐसे क्यों post किया था, या तुमने ये क्यों लिखा. I talk about my experiences all the time. He's not telling me to censor those, or he's not telling me कि don't put this out that way. अगर कोई आंटी पढ़ेंगी या कोई ख़ानदान की कोई खातून पढ़ लेंगी तो वो तुम्हें क्या बोलेंगी. वो बोलती होंगी, भाई बहुत सारे लोग हैं मेरे तो पूरा ख़ानदान ही मेरे ग्रुप में मौजूद है, and they're following me. Every platform that I run is a public face, is a public platform. And he has just never brought that up in that way. That's fantastic. I think that really is, that. Yeah. So I always, like, of course, the credit of whatever that I do goes to me, but a big chunk of credit goes to Fahad as well, because he is like, he has my back. At, you know, even though we're not communicating that much about कि भाई क्या कर रही हूँ मैं exactly, या मेरा अभी क्या interview है, क्या फलाना, अभी इसके बाद मुझे एक shoot पे जाना है, क्या करना है. He is like not, you know, being complicated about it.
He's not being complicated.
Yeah, he's like giving me that space to be who I am and give me the right kind of space. And you know what? He was the one who gave me that idea to do the podcast. I was the one who messaged you, बहुत शुरू में कि भाई I want to do this and I wanted to do the podcast. And I think I talked about the live में भी मैंने आपसे बोला था.
अच्छा, आपने किया था?
No, I haven't started yet.
Okay.
But it was him who gave me that idea that you are somebody who relates to people, and you are somebody who can help people navigate through their feelings. And I think it would be great if they can come up to you and share their story.
Sure.
So that can be men, women, everybody, and you know, do that kind of a show where people can just come up to you and be like, hey, we just have the story to share and we would love to talk to you.
Sure.
So that was his idea.
I think that's beautiful. Again, okay, so I will get into that in just a minute, but आपने इससे पहले जो बात की ना, where people are scared, I know quite a few people, affluent backgrounds, मतलब माशाल्लाह से very well off and everything, went through a divorce. Everyone knows that the divorce happened because it was a bad marriage.
Yeah.
Right? And they're still not comfortable talking about it क्योंकि उनका ख़ानदान क्या कहे. भाई जब divorce हो गया और divorce इसलिए हुआ क्योंकि वो लोग बुरे थे, तो आपने तो एक हल काम किया है ना. आई नो पीपल पोस्ट अबाउट ड्रिंकिंग एक्सपेंसिव whiskies on Instagram, but you can't talk about something that's completely permissible. Like, I just don't understand. I don't understand how we are as a society, and that's fair, that's all right? But if we're so convoluted and confused, how then do we also decide कि we don't know for sure, लेकिन फिर भी अगर तुमने ये बात की मैं तुम्हें मार दूंगा, ये दोनों चीजें कैसे कोएग्जिस्ट करती हैं मुझे समझ नहीं आता है.
Beats me. I think we're so boxed up. And पता है a lot of blame goes to, sadly, our parents and probably their parents, because this is embedded deep into our heads. Okay, you just don't talk about your feelings.
No, please don't ever talk about your feelings.
If you're not comfortable doing math in your class,
too bad, suck it up.
Yeah, suck it up.
Be good.
We don't want to know. If you're like, I still remember मैं KG में थी, ठीक है, kindergarten, can you believe it? I was like what, 4 years old? मुझे ना जीम नहीं लिखना आता था. I was always like, मैं उल्टा बना देती थी. सही है. So this teacher slapped me. She's like, do it. And अगले दिन मैंने अम्मी से बोला, मैं नहीं जा रही school. My mom told me to suck it up. Of course I went to school. What else could she have done, or what else could I have done? But these experiences, when they stick to you, then they stick by you कि ये certain class में, या ये बचपन में, या फलाना मेरे साथ ऐसे हुआ था, and you try to express them to your parents, and then they tell you, because they're not, they're also not good at taking or absorbing that kind of comment when they're their children are giving to them, that just does it, and you just become a bottled up person for the rest of your life.
But also unfortunately उनके पास भी कोई recourse
उनके पास भी तो नहीं था ना, वही तो सारी बात है.
जैसे, so I have dyslexia.
अच्छा.
I have it's a learning disability, reading disability. And then my younger 2 siblings also have it. तो जब मैं when I was, because I was schooled in a local school in Hyderabad, तो मैंने भी नहीं बड़ी चपेटें खाई हैं, लेकिन कभी ठीक नहीं हुआ unfortunately उन चपेटों से, right? तो जो है, but and I always just thought that that's just how normal people behave, and eventually I grew up, and then when my younger brother and my youngest sister, when they would explain to me in detail कि यार ये इस तरीके से होता है, this is how you feel when you're dyslexic. They have a more extreme version of it, and I was like, oh yeah, I know how that feels. They're like, well, you're not supposed to know how that feels. Doesn't happen to normal people. And then, retroactively when I went back, I was like, so these women were probably just frustrated. Definitely they had no business being teachers. They were just beating me up for no reason at all.
Yeah.
Like what the hell, but again, my mom didn't have another option.
Yeah.
Like, where was she supposed to send me? It was either that or don't school someone at all, and then, so what, am I not supposed to get educated now?
No.
And I feel, I don't, this is probably not a good place to end this podcast, but I feel कि जो हमने शुरू इस बात से की थी कि people take too much liberty. I think people only get to take liberty with you जब उनको भी पता होता है कि आप एक तरीके से मजबूर हो.
Yeah.
Right? A doctor is never going to be बदतमीज with you if they know कि उन जैसे 10 और लाइन में लगे हुए हैं और आप किसी के पास भी जा सकते हो.
Yeah, that's right.
And similarly, a teacher is never going to beat your child up if they know कि doing this will get them fired and you have 10 other schools that you could go to.
That's right.
उस वक्त एक ही स्कूल था, एक ही टीचर थी, and she just, what are you going to do? What's anyone going to do? What are my parents going to do? Not school me?
That helplessness ना, कि बस लोग इस चीज़ का, सामने वाला इस चीज़ का फ़ायदा उठाता है.
Yeah.
And I just want to say this कि भाई, right now why is there more conversation on children being so sensitive and parents knowing every single thing? And अभी आजकल के जो parents हैं ना, हम पे ज़्यादा pressure क्यों है? Because we just need to know ins and outs, because we don't want our children to be going through the same thing. कभी कभी होता है ना कि बहुत ही ridiculous सी भी चीज़ आप सुन रहे होते हैं parents से कि I don't want my child to have deep fried stuff. This is just an example, and I just want them to air fry the fries instead. And somebody would just come, and I do that. I air fry my children's fries.
Okay, cool. Okay.
Somebody comes up to me कि तुम क्या पागल हो? तुम खुद डाइट कर, तुम अपने बच्चों को भी वही करा रही हो, and तुम.
फर्क क्या होता है deep fried और air fried में?
Come on, deep fried is so much oil, man. I mean, it just पूरा सारा आप पूरा तेल ही खा रहे हो और क्या खा रहे हो, पूरा absorb हो जाता है. Air fry में you don't have oil at all.
You know, okay. So deep fried तो होता है, तेल गरम है, उसके अंदर सामान डाला, फ्राई हो गया, सही ना. एयर फ्राई क्या होता है कि
एयर फ्राई में बेसिकली वो हीट से हीट अप हो रहा होता है.
Oh cool.
So
उसके लिए
it's hot air.
उसके लिए सेपरेट औजार आते हैं.
Yeah, it's an air fryer basically.
Okay, it's an air fryer.
Yeah, it's great for people who are dieting.
Air fryer.
Yeah,
Same.
I put out air fryer recipe. I've made cakes and pizzas and whatnot, everything in my air fryer because I've never had to use the oven.
Wow.
It's great. You get zero oil and it's healthy as anything.
केक बनाते वहाब हम इसके बाद एयर फ्रायर पे.
Definitely.
अच्छा, final thoughts about what's it called? You've been alluding to this. इसके बाद आपकी recording है.
हाँ जी.
Can you talk about it?
Yeah. So Superwomen of Pakistan is a community, like I said.
Alhamdulillah.
And I started a business last year. I had to shut it down because when I had the miscarriage and I was the only sole founder. I wish I could talk more about that experience because I think we're short on time. But
no, we're not.
अच्छा, so basically मैंने अपना business start किया था and I was the sole founder of this e-commerce marketplace. It was a full-blown tech startup. Shopify पे build किया था. It was a small team but really amazing experience working with it. But at the same time when I had the miscarriage and I wish people would talk about this. I had such a change of heart that I just could not bring myself up to that same energy level with which I started to work on my startup.
Oh wow, okay.
You know, so I just was like 360 मेरा mental turn हो चुका था. I was like, how do I show up? And you know, as a founder, as a visionary of your company, you show up every freaking day and you drive that power and you drive the entire team.
Or it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Yep.
And I pushed myself so hard. January 8th को launch किया, Feb 25th को मेरा miscarriage हुआ, and then it just changed me as a whole person, man. I just can't sugarcoat that experience anymore.
No, that's what it's supposed to do.
But yeah, but as a team, as somebody, so this e-commerce marketplace basically was a subscription-based marketplace. We were not charging any commission, just one-time fees thi.
Okay.
They would come register and sell on the website as well as post about that their e-store on my community. So it was all interrelated.
Okay.
Okay. It was supposed to go above and beyond group se bahar bhi, you know, and then we started to gain some other sellers as well from all over Pakistan. Faisalabad se bhi log aa rahe the, Islamabad se bhi, which was really good, which was when we started expanding. But my miscarriage changed everything. It just changed me as a whole person. I was like, I don't want to be doing this anymore. I just want to put a full stop to my life and figure out who I am and where do I want to be.
That's okay.
And then that's what I did. And when I had to shut it down, I did not just shut it down very abruptly. And I just kind of like dragged it, put so much of my money in it, and I don't regret it, honestly. And I know lots of people are watching me, and lots of my own members are watching this right now, and they might feel like, oh, how could you do that? You know, they have this somebody might have this question कि आपने इतने शौक से इसको start किया and then you just, you know, shut it down. But then I just never got around to talk about it, how difficult it was for me to run it, because every day I was just fighting with myself. It was like a whole battle going on in my head, and I just could not bring myself to show up with my team or you know, delegate tasks. And हमारा एक बहुत बड़ा मसला है कि हम टास्क डेलीकेट करने में बहुत प्रॉब्लम लगता है. बस सब खुद ही करना है भाई, एडिट भी खुद करना है, बनाना भी खुद है, वेबसाइट भी खुद बना. मुझे आती होती ना, मैं खुद ही बना लेती वो भी, लेकिन आई हैड टू हायर अ डेवलपर फॉर दैट. सो ईदर वे दैट चेंज द होल शिफ्ट ऑफ एवरीथिंग दैट आई वाज डूइंग. एंड आई जस्ट after 7 months of long, hard and tiring struggle, I was decided that I need to put a full stop to it because I'm running out of funds. I'm running out of lack of resources. Did not have an investor, and honestly, I didn't feel like I'm ready to go to an investor at this point because I wasn't ready to give my full. I wasn't in in that state at all to give my full to the startup. So with that being said, company shut down की. It was a full private limited company. उसको shut down किया. तो अब जो है ना, I am focusing all my energy into doing things that I absolutely love, which is creating content, talking to people. I love talking. I love sharing experiences. Love people share their experiences. So under Superwomen of Pakistan, I'm trying. अभी इसके ऊपर काम हो रहा है अभी तो as we speak. I'm trying to create this whole window for content with respect to women and men both. And the whole narrative of this content revolves around women being the heroes of their stories.
Okay, wonderful.
And there's enough victimization, there's enough, क्योंकि I think हमारे ड्रामा में, हमारे पाकिस्तानी ड्रामा में ये चीज़ कवर हो जाती है कि बस औरत बेचारी है, औरत कमज़ोर है, औरत भाड़ में जाए, ठीक है.
They've covered that, yes.
Now I want to talk about, if for example, if there's a woman who has a successful startup, I don't want to talk about oh my God, you went through that in order to succeed. I want to talk about how did you do it. You know, let's just get straight to the point. And of course, I want to acknowledge their struggles as well. But I think अगर कोई देख रहा है ना, तो I want them to उनका जो की टेक अवे होना चाहिए ना, वो ये होना चाहिए कि despite all of that shit that she went through, she built something absolutely beautiful.
And it's a map for you, you know?
It's a map for me, exactly. So this is what I want the conversations to revolve around, you know, and it can be somebody as, you know, it can be anyone who's like a housewife and शायद उनके husband की जल्दी बहुत age में death हो गई and उन्होंने अपने husband के business को build किया, उसको आगे लेके चला, बच्चों को पाला, you know, इस तरह की stories.
So you want, so you want to create content or like?
I am creating it as we speak.
Okay.
So I've shot already 2 episodes of that. And uske saath, I'm doing another series with a couple of filmmaker friends of mine who are helping me out with this project. So हम क्या कर रहे हैं कि हमने कुछ ख़वातीन फाउंडर्स को लेके आए हैं जिसके ऊपर हमने विमेंस डे के अराउंड हमने एक थीम निकाली है. तो विमेंस डे की थीम इस दफ़ा है इमेजिनिंग अ जेंडर इक्वल वर्ल्ड. So
ये कौन डिसाइड करता है ये?
UN decides that, I think.
UN वही जो है
United Nations.
हाँ, United Nations वही लोग हैं ना जो पैलेस्टाइन और इजराइल पे सैंक्शन नहीं लगाते.
Yes,
Ukraine
exactly.
वही लोग हैं ना, those people they get to decide about women as well now.
So women, International Women's Day की website भी है, you can always like check out there as well. हर साल इनकी थीम निकलती है. So इस साल की थीम है Imagining a Gender Equal World for a Sustainable Tomorrow. That's a beautiful theme. And with that being said, there are more conversations. So our conversation also revolves around women being the heroes and the total badass of their own stories.
Sure.
And also identify the men in their lives who have been a support system for them. Like in my case, my story is an example for that. My husband is a big time supporter of what I do. And you know, similarly, ऐसी बहुत सारी औरतें भी हैं. So you know, when we say कि मर्दों को support करना चाहिए, we're not showing that content to the audience. We're showing कि और बस वो चमाट खाती है मर्द से and then that's it. And this is what we're portraying. वो जो कौन तो है, वो कौन थे, वो writer, author. Khalilur Rahman. Oh my God. Yeah. So when he's preaching something, he's showing exactly that, and that's what the men in our country are.
I think Khalilur Rahman Kamar is such an interesting character to have a conversation with.
Please do bring him if you have.
अगर वो आ
जाए तो
उनको pick करवा के कहाँ से लाऊंगा?
Definitely, I don't know.
But he's just such an interesting character. Like and the thing is now na he's meme material, he's clickbait material. Abhi ek khatun hai, I don't know what she does on, she's like a
activist तो नहीं है?
नहीं Instagram की कुछ करती हैं वो. She's a content creator, model. I don't know. तो she found him somewhere. तो जाती है उनसे जाके, अब यार इस बंदे से औरत मार्च के बारे में पूछने की ज़रूरत क्या है? ज़रूरत यही है कि व्यूज़ आते हैं, you know, and he's just like, देखें, ये ना कभी एक्सपेक्ट करे कि मर्द चेंज हो जाएगा. मर्द चेंज नहीं होगा. Something very interesting. And then, you know, सारे tabloids all like, model confronts Khalilur Rahman Kamar who's a misogynist. I'm like, dude, that's not what happened, man. वो बंदा अपना बैठा वो सिगरेट पी रहा था, उसको छोड़ दो.
वही बात है सारी के सारा क्लिकबेट मटेरियल के चक्कर में ना हम अच्छी कॉन्वर्जेशंस नहीं ला पाते. एंड आई थिंक बहुत सारे सोशल मीडिया, लॉट्स ऑफ सोशल मीडिया पीपल आर ट्राइंग टू डू दैट, and you are doing the same thing, and we're trying to talk about things that I don't know, people should be talking about, bringing those on television. But television पे तो आप खैर hopeless case ही लगता है मुझे कि कोई अजीबोगरीब सी कॉन्वर्जेशंस हैं. आप बस
here's the thing, right? मैं कभी कभी अपने दिल पे हाथ रख के ये सोचता हूँ ज़रूर कि ये तो मैं बोल रहा हूँ बिल्कुल, मैं बहुत comfortably बोल रहा हूँ कि there isn't a lot of good content on legacy media. Zarar Khorosab's show obviously is an exception, right? There are a few exceptions. But what if they offered something to me?
They would.
Yeah, but I would take it though, you know, because it's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. खैर मैं भी गई थी. I went on a PTV show twice actually. Morning.
But they didn't pay you for it?
No, they didn't pay me. I didn't ask. I was like, okay, whatever. But at the same time, I have been offered to come on TV before. I've said no multiple times because I just feel कि morning shows में such cringe fest हो रहा होता है, and I don't want to be a part of that.
Sure.
So the only reason I went on PTV morning show was because they were highlighting my community.
Okay, wonderful.
And I said no. I said no for the first. पहले मैंने मना कर दिया था.
Right.
But then I asked them, what do you want to do in the show? They said, okay, we would like you to talk about your community and if you can bring some sellers. I was like, why not? So with me, I took I think 10 to 15 ladies who have
That's
small
beautiful.
businesses.
That's beautiful,
And they
yeah.
got to show their products. उनकी वहीं पे सबके बिक भी गई चीज़ें काफ़ी सारे लोगों के. And lots of people actually message them on their page, post show. They were like, we saw this. For example, एक खातून थी, उनका टॉयस का था, वो साइकिल दिखा रही थी. उनको थोड़ी देर बाद मैसेज आया कि वो आप टीवी पे साइकिल दिखा रही थी, वो वाली साइकिल मुझे खरीदनी है.
Cute.
Which was so beautiful. I think that was the most great. और उस शो के बाद lots of the sellers who went with me were called again on that show.
Wonderful.
So that was something that was really beautiful and came out of, that particular morning at home TV show. Uske baad phir I went again to talk about my fitness journey.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I think that's an excellent example of you taking the power back into your own hands. Ke dekho, lots of people get invited to, lots of people get invited to Dawn ke morning shows, and that's a big one, right? Lekin it's how you interact with that opportunity.
Yeah.
I think that's a big deal. And I do think ke more often than not, we're just so taken by the spectacle of it all. Yaar, Dawn bula raha hai mujhe. Haan, lekin aap kya karne ja rahe ho Dawn pe? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
still in your hands.
Exactly. I just feel अच्छा इसके बाद एक और बड़ी अनएक्सपेक्टेड सी चीज़ ये हुई कि जब मैं गई ना टीवी पे, so I was kind of afraid कि सही है, मैं what if somebody says my खानदान में कोई मुझे कुछ बोले. लेकिन पता what happened, my मामी, my chachi, my chacha, सगे chacha, they were all so happy. They were like, oh my god, you're coming on TV and you're talking like, we just so proud of you. And that was something that really was beautiful and unexpected for me, because वही बात है ना कि हम सब डरते हैं ना अपने experiences share करने से, and just this notion attached to media, television and everything. Yeah, oh my god, अब आप बहुत media में exposed हो. हाँ, exactly. मैं अपनी नानी को पहली दफ़ा बताया था कि मैं जा रही हूँ, दूसरी दफ़ा मैंने बताया नहीं कि मैं नानी मैं टीवी पे जा रही हूँ, because she was like, उसके बाद मत जाना.
अच्छा.
नानी है ना यार, I mean come on, क्या कर सकते हैं.
I think, पता है क्या? I think more than anything else, all of us are only looking for support.
Yeah, I know.
I think हम सब होते प्यार के हैं, and I think all of us just look for that love, and what you've
acceptance,
what you've spoken about with your husband and everything. I think most people just want that kind of unconditional regard कि भाई, and it's impossible to come by. Unconditional तो नहीं हो सकता, इंसान है, ज़ाहिर है, कभी तबीयत ख़राब होगी, कभी मूड ख़राब होगा, लेकिन you just want your family at least to have your back.
Yeah.
कि यार कुछ भी हो जाए, क्योंकि निदा हमारी है तो ठीक है. Like, but I don't know where we lost that, but we've lost that sense of togetherness and community.
I think where we lost it is probably because we started to believe irrelevant folks over our own people.
Okay.
I think relationships also get ruined because you let a third person
100%.
drive you into
100%,
and यही मसला ना सबसे बड़ा, because we prefer what other person said about you rather than hearing it from you. So it's all about giving benefit of the doubt. Sure. I think I learned this from Fahad as well, because I think as a married woman, I've had to change a lot of my own norms and that I grew up on believing, and it's the empowerment that I think he has given it to me, because
Mashallah.
I did not see a lot of empowerment going on before I was married in my family or in my khandan. But then again, you just kind of like learned that along the process, and it was great to have a partner like that who believes in empowerment and letting me be what I want to be. So yeah.
Allah khair karega. I think that's a healthy place to end the podcast.
Yeah.
Please, what social medias would you like to shout out? Would you like to shout out any?
Nida S Fahad is the
on
new
Instagram?
page. मैंने अब नया बनाया, मुझे नया बनाना पड़ा because I've been stuck since last year. I think Instagram is kind of confused about my Instagram because it was always a personal page, and then I converted into a writing page because I used to write poetry a lot. I also ran Poetry Slam Karachi, if you've ever heard of that.
Okay.
Poetry Slam Karachi was this online space, but we were doing events where people would come and share their poetry, like slam poetry,
Oh,
like
wow. हो रहे अभी events हो रहे हैं?
नहीं, अब उसके बाद ही मैंने superwomen start कर दिया था. So when I look back at my life, I've always been that person that gets the crowd excited for a certain something, and then them to be able to share their heart out.
Okay,
so
wonderful.
भले वो Poetry Slam Karachi था, but अभी ये Superwomen of Pakistan है. At the same time, it's always about me creating spaces for people who just want a space to vent or just be their true selves.
I think that's wonderful, dude.
Yeah.
I really do. Okay, so एक मिनट. Instagram अपने आप से भी वैसे confused है?
Yeah, I know.
वो आपके it's not just you.
I know. Yeah.
So Nida as Fahad on Instagram.
Yeah.
And then Facebook पे Superwomen of Pakistan.
That's right. YouTube है.
लेकिन फिर
It's there. It's थोड़ा slow है.
कोई बात नहीं.
But yeah है.
So क्या what is it?
Yeah, Nida Saif ही है. Nida Saif, that's my last
Nida
name.
Saif is the YouTube.
Yeah.
और कुछ तो नहीं है?
TikTok भी है.
TikTok बना. Please, what's your TikTok?
TikTok is Nida is Fahad as well. Yes.
Okay, Nida is Fahad on TikTok as well.
Yeah.
No Twitter?
No Twitter भी है.
क्या है?
Nida Saif ही है वो.
Nida Saif. ये please ये चीज़ें बहुत लाजमी है. This is your calling card. No website?
No website yet. No.
Okay. Soon, inshallah.
Cool.
Wonderful. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for
Right.
having me.
Of
Thank
course.
you to the people who said it. कि इनको भी बुलाए. I think it was that conversation that kind of like
but
led to this.
It was wonderful. It was wonderful. Nida is Fahad, Kazi Akbar. Assalamu alaikum.
Bye.